Had to film in the car because of the horse flies and robber flies that were over there annoying Murphy. Probably won't stay here tonight now because of that. Anyway, the story of Stringybark Creek starts on the 26th of October 1878 at Mansfield, which is about 30 kilometres over that way, at 5 AM at the Mansfield police station. 4 policemen left the station. Sergeant Michael Kennedy was in charge of 3 constables, Lonergan, McIntyre and Scanlon. Their mission, or their task, was to come here to Stringybark Creek and set up a kind of a base camp with which they could search the area east of here for the Kelly gang, who they believed to be in the area. They arrived here later that night on the 26th. They didn't have many provisions with them. They were going to live off the land as much as possible, which ended up being a little bit of a problem. But anyway, they set up camp here on the 26th, and the 26th passed without incident. They woke up the next day. It was cold, as it would be up here in these ranges. And it was decided that Michael Kennedy, the sergeant, and Michael Scanlon would go out on patrol for at least the day, possibly longer, in search of the Kellys. They didn't know really at this stage how close the Kellys were. They were holed up in a hut only about 1.5 k's to the west of here, which was to prove fatal for them. Anyway, McIntyre was left the task of trying to shoot a few birds to have for dinner, which he did. He shot a couple of cockatoos, which he was going to make up for dinner. Unfortunately for him, the shots were heard where the Kellys were held up in their hut, and so Ned and Joe Byrne decided to go and have a look what the shots were at, to go and investigate. They turned up here, saw 2 police, McIntyre and Lonergan. Lonergan was cleaning up the tent. McIntyre was making bread. After they discovered the police, Kelly went back to his camp, and it's at this point he could have made one of 3 decisions. He could have left his camp and gone further into the scrub. He could have stayed where he was. The police didn't know where he was. Or he could come back and confront the police, which is what he decided to do. In any case, that's what they did. And about 5 o'clock that afternoon, they rode into the police camp, said bail up. Lonergan immediately went for his pistol and went to take cover behind a log. Ned Kelly shot him straight through his right eye. He lay there for a while dying. McIntyre threw his hands up straight away, and they took him prisoner. And then the Kellys decided that they would hang around and wait for the other 2 policemen to come back, who they obviously had their names and times they'd be back were gotten from McIntyre gave up Scanlon and Kennedy, and told the Kellys that they'd be back either that day or the day after. About on dusk, I think it was about 5:30 or 6 o'clock, Kennedy and Scanlon came riding into camp. McIntyre, who had been told by the Kellys that they could all live if he convinced Kennedy and Scanlon to surrender. When a Kennedy and Scanlon approached, McIntyre said, "They've got us surrounded, throw up your arms." Kennedy thought he was joking at first, but he went for his pistol anyway, in which case a shot came from Ned Kelly, missed him, but he said, "Whoa up, we don't need to do this." Scanlon also tried to retrieve his firearm, but his horse bucked at the sound of gunfire and threw him off the horse. He tried to return fire, but he was shot by Kelly, and he crawled off to die in the bush. Kennedy, by this stage, he's was trying to control his horse, which was bucking. He eventually got off the horse and returned fire, missing all the Kellys and Byrne and Steve Hart. Then McIntyre jumped on Kennedy's horse, and his story is he tried to control it as it bolted off into the scrub. Whether that's true or not, nobody knows. I tend to think he was a bit of a coward and rode off. He could have come back at any stage to help Kennedy out. The last he saw, Kennedy was going from tree to tree, exchanging shots with Ned and Dan Kelly, while Byrne and Hart were out looking for him. And at any rate, Kennedy was wounded in the shoulder, and he had exhausted all his ammunition, so he threw his arms up. He was lying by a tree, or sitting by a tree, with a tree propping him up. What happened next is in dispute, but there is no dispute that Kennedy was shot in the chest with a shotgun at close range. The next day, after he'd hid in a wombat hole overnight, McIntyre walked his way back to civilization and informed the police, who came out, recovered the bodies of Scanlon and Lonergan. They were unable to find Sergeant Kennedy until the 31st of October.